Welcome back to lecture, I said 11 last time, it's 12, lecture L12.4, which is going to be called the Linde cycle. All right, so this is the question here is, how do I liquefy helium? Okay, how do I liquefy helium if T inversion max is 51 Kelvin? Let me just write that more clearly. T inversion max equals 51 Kelvin. Okay, well, maybe one could do adiabatic expansion instead, right? I mean, we talked about how the free expansion is going to work, right? But free expansion is a bad idea. Like, look, you're going to get a little bit of cooling. There's no, like, you got to be able to put work into the system and do something, right? So maybe you can do adiabatic expansion. Well, sure you could, but this means pistons moving, right? So pistons moving means freezing. What I mean is, you got a piston moving, there's some kind of lubricant, let's say, or some kind of rubber O-ring, that stuff is all going to be frozen, right? Moving parts at very, very low temperatures, bad idea, okay? Bad idea. So, can we do this throttling? And the answer is yes. Linde came up with a very cool approach, and it requires multiple steps, okay? So the first step, let's show you how to liquefy nitrogen, okay? So I'll take air, or so let's call it a supply of nitrogen. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have a compressor. So this is going to be low pressure, P low. Let's call this P low. And now it's going to output at P high, right? Some high pressure. We know that when we do an adiabatic compression, right? When we do a compression, we do work on something, heat flows out, right? So we're going to get some heating, and so we're going to have some, let's call it a heat exchanger, which is going to get you back to, say, T room, okay? So this is now T high, and it's going to get you back to T room. So now you have high pressure nitrogen, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to do a cycle. Let's bring it back to the top, for example. This is just some tubing, so it's no problem. So we're going to have some chamber, right, where we're going to allow this gas to expand through some Joule-Thomson plug, okay? So this is a Joule-Thomson plug. This is that porous plug that we said last time. So we're going to expand. This is going to be low pressure again. right? So the gas expands. Because it's nitrogen, when you do throttling, you get cooling. That's not sufficient to actually liquefy the nitrogen, right? Last time we clearly showed that we got like say 20 or 30 degrees of cooling, but that's not enough to liquefy it. To liquefy nitrogen, we have to get to 77 Kelvin, right? So that's like 220 or 230 degrees. All right, so how are we going to do that? Well, actually what we're going to do is we're going to pump. So let's have this pump, or the return, right, of the gas from here, right, and then feed back into the supply. But when we do that, right, so let's attach my pump to my supply. So it pulls it back. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my system to have a whole lot of, let's see if I can draw this well. Let's draw it like, heat exchangers. Okay. So I'm going to draw heat exchangers, like, actually probably the best way to draw it maybe, let's see if I can do this, is I'm going to have my input like this, and then I want to draw my output as wound up tightly and this will be my return. So this is my input gas, and that's my output gas. So what happens? Well, this gas started at room temperature, right? But now it's gone around the cycle once, it's expanded, it's cooled, and as it leaves, it actually cools the next set of incoming gas. And so this, now the gas that comes in is colder, so that the gas that goes back out is colder, and it keeps progressively getting colder and colder and colder. So we have some key ingredients. We have the compressor, right, which is going to get it hot. We have a heat exchanger with the room. We're going to have our expansion plug, but then we're going to have a heat exchanger with the incoming gas with the outgoing gas. And this is the key feature. This heat exchanger is the key feature which allows you to liquefy nitrogen. Okay. Now, that's good. We've now got liquid nitrogen. We've got liquid nitrogen. But how do we get liquid, say, hydrogen? So I need, let's say, T inversion max of helium is 51 Kelvin. 77 Kelvin is still above 50 Kelvin. So I can't go straight from nitrogen to helium. What if I use as an intermediary hydrogen? Okay. So we said that T inversion max for hydrogen was 205 Kelvin. Perfect. Now what we can do is we can use the Linde cycle, right, to make liquid nitrogen. So then we're going to have now, let's say, a supply. We're going to have a compressor. we're going to have our first heat exchanger. Heat exchanger to room. But then we're also going to have a heat exchanger to liquid nitrogen. Okay? So imagine a pool of this liquid nitrogen I made. My hydrogen goes through that, gets compressed, heat exchanges it back to room temperature, but now it goes to 77 Kelvin. So this is hot, for example. Now I have 77 Kelvin gas going into my chamber, right? And doing expansion. My Joule-Thomson plug. So now when I have my pump, right? So let's say my pump is my return. Now, still have a heat exchanger. But 77 Kelvin gas hydrogen comes in. It's below its max inversion temperature, and it can expand, cool some more, and then as it outgoes, it exchanges heat with the incoming. So the incoming gas temperature keeps progressively dropping until you start to get to the liquefaction temperature of hydrogen, which is 20 Kelvin. I'm going to look up that. It might be 14. I have two numbers in my head. And then to do helium, right, all I have to do is exchange that with first a step of liquid nitrogen and then another step, heat exchange to 20 Kelvin. And then I will make liquid helium. So it's really the heat exchangers and taking into account all that exchange of enthalpy with the outgoing gas has to change with the incoming gas. So you really want to get that enthalpy out so that you can do an isenthalpic process from a lower temperature. Okay, so that's the Linde cycle. So that's the end of lecture 12. So we'll go on and we'll talk a little bit more in lecture 13 about the virial coefficients before going on and doing some more work problems.